Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Upkick MMA, episode 417. I am Brendan. All right. I said I was going to do it in the last video. I said I might do it. This is the PFL, right? The PFL playoffs, the first set of playoff fights. If you like this kind of thing, we're going to break them all down. Subscribe to the channel. That way you know the next video is coming out. I cover MMA in general, mostly the UFC, just because of how many events there are and how popular they are. And I just like it the best, all right? But today we're going to do the PFL. So this is going to be Denis Goltsov versus Tim Johnson, Dakota Ditcheva versus Jena Bishop, Oleg Popov versus Linton Vassell, and Talia Santos versus Liz Carmouche. All right. Let's get into the first fight, shall we? Or the main fight, I guess you could call it. I wouldn't, if you didn't watch these, there was nothing to talk about as far as the playoff ones. The Ditcheva fight was pretty good. At least her finish was. Anyway, Goltsov gets a takedown, starts laying out some ground and pound event like after 3 minutes, and that's the fight. Tim Johnson, don't know why he was in this one. I think my guess would be because of injury or something else. We'll talk about my feelings on the step-ins for this kind of stuff once we get to the first fight that occurred. But let's get to the best one. Dakota Ditcheva versus Jena Bishop. Fantastic. First minute, the only thing landing is some low kicks and body kicks from Ditcheva, but Bishop rushes in, eats a knee, and then gets a takedown. And you figure, okay, this is going to be her path to victory. She's going to hold her down there. She's going to keep her down. She did for a while. They get back up, and they're going through some clinch work, and then with 90 seconds left in the round, Ditcheva separates, and you're like, okay, so she was able to work through it and get up, but it is unlikely that, she's going to be able to. Nope, never mind. As I'm writing with 90 seconds left, Ditcheva lands a nasty fucking knee, and Bishop goes down. She waits, tells her to get back up, and lands a glancing blow, I think with her right hand, and that was the end of it. The ref waved it off. So we've got Ditcheva fighting in the finals for women's flyweight, which is pretty exciting. And we'll talk about her opponent in a second. All right, I know we're blowing through these, but we're only going to do the playoff fights. And there's no reason to really extend it, drag it out. Okay, Oleg Popov versus Linton Vassell. This one went all 3 rounds. Not interesting, but it did go all 3. So Vassell using the long jab and the shovel hook when Popov changes levels. Popov getting the single leg, nothing there but control after they get back, and then they get back up. Popov getting the single leg, and then Vassell goes over the top, but Popov uses it to get the back. And then eventually he gets to the point where he's landing some downward elbows, does Vassell. The problem is, or Linton Vassell, my bad. Vassell. He lands some good damage there. I actually thought he did more damage in this round than Popov did. All Popov had was control time in the first round. Not a ton of damage, so I actually gave Vassell the first round 10-9. Popov now landing with looping hooks and lunging in. Vassell's just not moving well in the second round. He looks a little labored, very tired. Popov was able to get the same amount of control time that he had in the first round, the same kind of control, that hip riding stuff. And, No, he didn't take damage this round, so it's clearly his. He's I have it 19-19 going into the third round. If you had Popov winning that first round, I understand. Obviously, the smart cage, the things like they gave Popov all 3 rounds. I think it doesn't attribute that much damage to the things that Vassell was throwing, especially those downward elbows. I don't think it was giving him the kind of credit that he need. Oh wait, are you not allowed to land elbows? That's right, you're not supposed to do elbows anyway, so that doesn't count. So forget what I said. Yeah, you're not allowed to land those. That damage doesn't count. Okay, yeah, Popov should be up 20-18. And then in the third round, he gets a takedown within 30 seconds, and then it's 5 more minutes of him sitting on top. Obviously, 30-27. He's going to the finals. He's taken on Denis Goltsov. I don't know. I think they both had lackluster competition in their first playoff fight, so it's hard to take anything away from this. You can go off their regular season fights. I would lean towards Goltsov. I think he is a better all-around fighter. But I don't know. Popov could do it. Popov could do it. All right. Talia Santos taking on Liz Carmouche. Okay, so this is what I was going to talk about. Liz Carmouche missed weight by a pound, which is fucking ridiculous. This happened last year. I can't believe, one, that she missed weight. And then, two, that they're, again, letting someone who missed weight fight in the playoffs. Now, she ends up losing a decision here, and we'll get through all that. But it's unbelievable to me that you're allowing someone to come in here, compete for a chance to win $1 million when they shouldn't be allowed to fight, period. Because this isn't like, my guess is, because I didn't look at their contracts, but my guess, this is not like the UFC where if your opponent misses weight, you get the option of whether or not you want to fight them. You can say, no, he didn't make the weight, she didn't make the weight, I'm not fighting him. But with the playoff system that they have, you are now forced to fight a person who did not make weight. You are forced to fight a person who is doing sanctioned cheating. Now, again, it didn't affect it this time in the playoffs because Carmouche ends up losing. But this whole system of we'll take a point, I'm actually for that. I love the way that they're doing it where they take a point from the person who misses weight because it affects the scoring of the fight and not just the money that they get from the fight. Because honestly, a win is more important than 20% of your purse. A win is more important for your career, especially when you get to the higher levels. Because that sets you up for more wins and it sets you up for bigger fights in the future, whereas a loss hurts you a lot more than getting an extra 20% on your paycheck. So, anyway, in this case, I'm actually not for that. I am not for any concessions. This should be treated as if it was a championship fight. Okay, I'm not out of line here to say this or request this. If you miss weight by half a pound, you're not allowed to win the title. There is no allowance. There is no 1 pound allowance for a title fight. So we already have rules in place that prevent people from winning or fighting for the title when they miss weight. The rule's already in place. It's already a practice. This is essentially what you're doing. Right? What if the person misses weight in the finals match? Are they allowed to win the $1 million? Because that's essentially what you're doing. The playoff system is literally 1 win and then you get to fight for the title. So it's not like you're that far removed, like early on in the thing, and there's a huge playoff bracket, and you got to go through 16 fights to get to the finals. It's just 1 win, and you get to the finals. The point system in the regular season is also affected by weight misses, and I think they handle that relatively well. That's fine. But once you get to the playoffs, it's essentially fighting for a title every single time. Also, the 3-round thing, that's got to be a sanctioning issue. That'd be my guess. But in the playoffs, they should be 5-round fights. They should be 5 rounds. Why are we fighting 3 rounds? If the finals were 3 rounds, then so be it. But the finals also 5 rounds. So why in the playoffs are we changing it? This is akin to the way that they used to run the NBA playoffs, right? It was best of 5 until the finals, and then it's best of 7. And we don't do that anymore. We do best of 7. Now, you can argue whether that was monetary, most likely, or good for the sport. I think it also is good for the sport. But that's what we were at before. So why don't we just... We've seen the other organizations, the other sports organizations do this kind of thing. Why don't we just move over to the modern system? Run the playoffs exactly how you run the finals. You say you're the first MMA organization with the regular season, the playoffs, and the finals. Sure. So let's run it like it is. The playoffs should be no different than the finals. It should be treated exactly the same, judged exactly the same. The time should be exactly the same, and if you miss weight, it should be exactly the same. It's ridiculous. Why even have the fucking weight class then if you're just gonna miss weight anyway? If you're just gonna let people miss weight anyway. If you're gonna let them miss weight and then only take points from them, why even have a weight class? Who gives a shit? Why even try to make weight? Anyway, Carmouche was finding the mark with that front leg hook kick to the head, which is kind of nice. A big overhand right at one point. Carmouche fails on the single leg, and then Santos gets her own takedown, gets the back. Lots of good control time. She clearly won this round for me. I have her up 10-8. I just accounted for that extra point deduction. Obviously, that was not a 10-8 round, but I just counted for it in that first round to get it out of the way. So I have it 10-8 going into the second round. Carmouche going to the legs, classic Muay Thai MMA style, that modified Muay Thai stance where the front leg isn't quite as light where it's bouncing off the ground constantly to block the knees and kicks coming back, but it's still pretty light, and it's, like I said, it's the classic modified for MMA Muay Thai style. Carmouche fights off the takedown, gets a back body lock, trip to side control. I don't know if it was enough to win the round. There was two really big punches, these two big right hands from Santos that did more damage. I had Santos up 20-17, although the smart cage gave that second round to Carmouche, but I don't think so. I think the damage went in favor of Santos. I really wish it would just break down the stats round by round on this freaking page. It's so dumb. You're collecting them clearly. Just put them on here. Ugh. The fight isn't judged as a whole. If the fight was judged as a whole, like they do in one, these kind of statistics make a ton of sense. Total strikes landed, total significant strikes, total takedown, all that stuff. That makes sense, but we're not. Third round, Carmouche right across the cage into a takedown, side control, back up, some time in the clinch. Santos fight. She fought like she knew she had the decision won here, and just did not want to lose. It's not so fun to watch in the end, but it is what it is. She did the smart thing, stayed safe, and got herself into a position to fight for $1 million. Carmouche shouldn't even been given this opportunity, to be honest with you. They should have pulled in. And my point, my point was from before. If somebody gets hurt, they have a alternate come and take the place. If somebody does something stupid and gets banned for having a glorified sparring match, is what they called it last year, which was also bullshit that they did that. That's ridiculous. You can't tell someone how they're supposed to fight when they're in there. If they're not breaking any rules, you let people miss weight and go fight, but you're not going to let people not punch as hard as they can against each other. Who gives a shit? You put them in that position. You put them there. Stupid. So anyway, they already have backups in place. If you miss weight, that backup needs to step up. You need to weigh in your backups the same day. That'd be my guess. Like, you can't do this anymore. This is stupid. Last year, it led to a guy getting the title. This year, or getting the $1 million. This year, it, luckily for the organization, it doesn't look like a giant stain on their system, but it doesn't mean it won't happen again in the future. Really stupid. Overall, would not watch this again. There's nothing exciting. Ditcheva looked really good. Other than that, not much to care about here, guys. Wait for the finals. Talia Santos versus Ditcheva. If Santos can control her on the ground, she also hits pretty hard. It could be fun. That could be a fun match. I'm actually excited for that one. I would be leaning towards Santos, but not heavily favorites. Okay, anyway, appreciate y'all for stopping by. If you like this kind of thing, subscribe to the channel. That way the next video is coming out. The last two videos were about the UFC from this weekend. Appreciate y'all, man. I really do. I hope you guys have an amazing week. Love y'all. Peace.